Hello and welcome to Action Playbook Live. I am Gilles Gallant. Welcome. It's NFL Week 9, Sunday morning. It is the NFL pregame betting show here at Action Network. We've got a lot to cover for today. I've got the whole crew with me. We're going to cover a ton of player props, touchdown bets, parlays, everything over the next hour. Nick Giffen is going to join us later to talk about the luck rankings and which games we should be targeting for an edge in that market in Week 9. And then Evan Abrams will also join us here. He's our director of research here at Action Network. He's going to give us some of the latest betting trends and market moves for Week 9. But joining me off the hop are Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, two of the best player prop bettors that I've ever met. But they are also based in LA. And if you can't tell, from my accent, I am Canadian. I am a Toronto Blue Jays fan. I am very hungover this morning despite having no alcohol in my system. And part of it is because the Blue Jays lost. I wanted to ask you two guys, Raymond, I'll start with you. What's the vibe in LA right now after the Dodgers win another World Series?
I mean, business as usual, but it was pretty hype. It was pretty hype the last couple of nights. With those games 6 and 7. So, it's pretty hype.
Yeah, business as usual, freaking back-to-back World Series champions. Carter, you were saying that you heard the double play 30 seconds
Yeah.
before it happened live on television. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I live in like a pop-in neighborhood where there's a few sports bars around me. And we were at home watching the game and on a bit of a delay apparently, because as soon as the double play happened, everywhere was going psycho. So as soon as Kirk hit that grounder to short, I knew it was over. So yeah, business, people were excited for like an hour out here, but it's become commonplace for the Dodgers to win out here. They got pretty chill eventually, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, business as usual. The day next day comes and we just move on with our lives. Meanwhile, in Toronto and across Canada, we're just soaking in our tears
Brutal.
for the morning. But that's enough baseball talk for today. We're talking about NFL, so we're gonna get to some player props here coming up, but also a reminder for anyone, if you want to tail any of these bets, the easiest way is to use quick slips in the YouTube chat. We're going to be dropping links in the chat after every pick we make. This way you can tail the bet as quickly as possible. You get the best lines and the best odds because trust me, it may move a little bit on my end, but when Kerner and Raybon give out some of these bets, these props lines are going to move. Also, we're live on X and Twitter for the first time this week. So welcome if you're watching the show for the first time. Follow Playbook on X and Twitter at Playbook. They're going to be tweeting picks from the show as we go. And so just follow them. You can get quick slips directly from there if you want to tail any of these bets. Now, also, Action Pro. Make sure to sign up for an Action Pro projection subscription. Make sure to sign up for an annual subscription. You can get $20 off if you use the code POD20, POD20 at sign up. You can get access to exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon, all the members of the Action Analytics team. So sign up today, actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code POD20 at sign up. And now let's start with some player props. Kerner, you've got, I believe, I want to say at least 10 plus props tracked right now in the Action app. A lot of them tackle props. But this one I saw you track last night and I had to tail. What is the prop that you are giving out today?
I just gave out a couple more, so I think I'm up to 15 now. About half
Nice.
of them are tackle props, half of them, skill player props. And this one I took last night, and you can still get the same number. It's Geno Smith under 31 and a half pass attempts. So if you look at, their pass rate over expected, the Raiders were very pass heavy the first two games. I think, Chip Kelly and everybody thought Geno Smith would be good. But that has not been the case this year. So if you look after week two, they've been extremely run heavy. Actually, the second lowest pass rate over expected on the season. But because Geno Smith is throwing so many interceptions, they end up in trailing pass heavy game scripts. So this is a game where, they're only 3-point underdogs. So there's a chance they could have a more balanced game plan the whole way through, and limit, his passing volume here. Plus, he's kind of due for some turnover luck. He has 10 picks on the year, but I have him closer to 7.5 expected. Still shitty, but not as bad as a 10. So if he doesn't throw a pick here, that just increases the chances they can be run heavy the rest of the way. Now, if he does throw another pick or two, I think there's a chance we could see Kenny Pickett replace him sooner than later, especially coming off the bye week. This is the time where hopefully he's resolved everything. He comes out looking better. But if not, maybe they're going to be a little bit quicker to put Pickett in there. And the last couple weeks, I've gotten bailed out on this with Justin Fields and Spencer Rattler getting benched once they were kind of put into a pass-heavy game script by their fault, kind of. So that's kind of a sneaky out here. So plus, Geno Smith, he only throws it away at a 2% rate, which is one of the lowest rates in the league. And when you're sweating an under on a pass attempt prop, it's so brutal when they throw it away because it's a wasted attempt. Usually sets them up for another pass. So a lot of sneaky angles here for the under. I think it's around a 60% chance he stays under 31 and a half. And I'm not even factoring in the potential, in-game benching here, which I think, is still pretty low. But a lot of paths here for Geno Smith to stay under 31 and a half pass attempts.
Well, I mean, the tackle props are one thing that you're the expert on that, but now you're the expert on quarterback bench whisperer here. Like, I mean, when you're getting Justin Fields bench, you're getting Spencer Rattler bench. Kenny Pickett might see time in this game. Wow. Okay. All right. So Geno Smith under 31 and a half pass attempts. You could tail that prop. We just dropped the quick slip link in the YouTube chat, and Playbook also just tweeted that out. So if you want to tail those bets, that's the easiest way to do it. All right, Raybon, you are up and you are looking at a Charger. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at Kamani Vidal, longest rush, over 15 and a half. I think this is underestimating his explosiveness by a lot. I have this closer to 20 against the Tennessee Titans. And Vidal, in the last 3 games, he's had long runs of 38 and 21. So 2 of his 3 starts, he's been well over this. And he's number 9 out of 42 qualifiers in explosive rush rate. Meanwhile, the Titans, they've just been getting gashed on the ground. They've given up the 5th most explosive runs on a year at 30 and the 7th highest explosive rush rate at 13.3%. So I think Vidal is a good bet to get at least a 20-yarder in this spot. Tennessee has allowed 10 different runners, to go over along a 15 and a half in just 8 games. So I really like the odds for Kamani Vidal here. Long run over 15 and a half.
Yeah, and you were all over this last week, Braybon, when you were on Jonathan Taylor for 3 touchdowns, and he pretty much decimated that Titans run defense. So if Kamani Vidal is even a shred of what Jonathan Taylor has been looking like this season, 15 and a half rushing yards, longest rush, you could easily top that very early too. So Kamani Vidal, longest rush over 15 and a half against the Titans. That is Raybon's bet for week 9. I like Jordan Addison for an anytime touchdown. That's who I'm going to take as my opening bet here. He's scored twice in 4 games, 10 plus touchdowns in each of his first 2 seasons, and facing a Lions team that's going to play a lot of man coverage, 3rd highest rate in the NFL. Still leading the Vikings in total deep targets. He leads them in ADOT. So when you're facing a team playing man coverage, you could likely beat that kind of secondary. So JJ McCarthy is starting this week. That is, depending on how you view it, it's either a negative or a positive. I just think it can't possibly be any worse than what we saw with Carson Wentz at quarterback. So I like Jordan Addison to score an anytime touchdown in that game against the Lions. So that is our my first bet, Jordan Addison. Kerner is on Geno Smith under 31 and a half pass attempts, and Raybon, you are on Kamani Vidal, longest rush over 15 and a half yards. So that won't be the last touchdown bet that we have on the show as well. Grant Neefer, he's going to be joining us in a bit with a touchdown lotto parlay for week 9. Of course, Raybon, you're going to join me at the end of the show. We'll do some anytime touchdown bets to wrap up the show for week 9. But why don't you guys take a quick break? We'll get you back here in a minute. Let's let's get Derek Carty on here and see what he is looking at for week 9. We now welcome back to Action Playbook Live. Derek Carty, creator of the Blitz projections for the NFL. He appears on Action Island with us every Monday, and you can follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty. Now, as usual, we're going to be putting quick slip links in the chat because these prop lines, they might move quickly once Derek gives them out. So please be prepared to click that link and get over to your sportsbook and tail if these are 2 bets that you want to tail. So Derek, first bet of you, what are you looking at today?
I'm looking at Taysom Hill over 7.5 rushing yards at minus 116 at Bet365 is the best line on the board right now. The Blitz is projecting a 9-yard gap, 9 yards over the line, essentially. But when you look at the game logs, he hasn't gone over this at all this year. but I think that's more due to situations than due to like actual game planning or something that's more sustainable. If you look at last week's game, they only ran 10 design runs the whole game, and he got 20% of them. Now that's 2 runs. He didn't get over the number, um, but he is a part of the plan here. And there was a quote from Kellen Moore this week that was in the Coach Speak Index Discord, and Kellen Moore said, "We certainly had a lot of stuff in yesterday's game plan for Taysom Hill. It just didn't allow itself. So we got to find a way to get him on the field more." That sounds like a guy who wants to get Taysom Hill on the field more.
Taysom
If
Fields,
you
I
look at
like
his
it.
game logs, yeah, if you look at his game logs last year, like he went over in every single game he played. The year before, he went over in 10 of 16, obviously with different coaching both of those years. But this is still a coaching staff that is using Taysom Hill more or less the same way previous coaching regimes have. It's just that situationally it hasn't happened yet. Granted, they are big underdogs here. There probably will not be as much rushing as there would be if they were facing, I don't know, maybe the Carolina Panthers or somebody. But 10 rushing attempts that they had last week is still way too low for any team, even as a big underdog, especially when you consider the fast pace that New Orleans plays with. This projects as the fastest paced game of the week. And so I'm projecting a lot of plays for New Orleans here and a decent amount of work for Taysom Hill.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a soft line. I think one thing that you were mentioning is just they are having plays designed for him. They just weren't in position to do it because a lot of the time they either weren't converting third down or, Spencer Rattler is putting them in position where they're having bad field position now. So it was just difficult for them to get them. But this, again, feels like a very soft line over 7.5 rushing yards. Before we get to your second bet, I know a lot of people will look at this bet here and then even look at the potential for a Taysom Hill anytime touchdown. What is the blitz projection showing right now for a Taysom touchdown today?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not seeing a ton of value on the Taysom touchdown. I haven't projected to score one about 12% of the time, which at the odds that you can get him at right now, I think the best odds are plus 575. It's not
Yeah.
quite enough. The fair value is projected more at like plus 800. So it would really, you'd need better odds, I think, than are being offered right now for it.
For sure. And even across the market right now, I think it's like less than 5 to 1. I think only like one spot actually has it over 5 to 1, which is
Yeah.
still a big discrepancy between your projection and what we're seeing in the market right now. But either way, Taysom Hill over 7.5 rushing yards. That is the first bet from Derek Carty. What is the second bet you're looking at? Please don't let it be Patrick Mahomes, no interception. Please don't let it be Patrick Mahomes, no interception.
No, you are safe. That is not what
Oh,
I'm
thank
looking
you.
at. I am going with Jordan Mason under half of a reception at plus 200. Are the best odds on the board right now. The Blitz is projecting a 50% chance of him getting a reception and a 50% chance of him not getting reception. So at a 50% chance, an actual coin flip plus 200 or anything resembling plus 200 is just crazy value. Jordan Mason, I do expect to be the lead guy on the ground for Minnesota, but with Aaron Jones back now, his role in the pass game is severely diminished. In the games without Aaron Jones, he had a 49% route share in those games. Last week in the first game with Jones back, he dropped down to 22%, more than cut in half.
Mm.
Plus, they also still have Xavier Scott in the mix. A lot of times when you have that third running back and the first guy comes back, the third guy will fall into the background, maybe won't even play at all. But they like Xavier Scott as a receiver. They gave him 11% of the routes last year, or let him run a route on 11% of the dropbacks last week, which is half of what Mason had even. So I don't think that Mason's going to be very involved in the pass game here. I think Detroit is going to be playing from ahead and trying to run the ball. They played a very slow pace, so I think they're going to be grinding clock. I think that's going to reduce the total opportunities for Minnesota. And so I think the under here looks like good value.
For sure. And the route participation is a clear indicator of what his role is kind of in this offense now with Aaron Jones back. So he might not even see a target, let alone, a catch at this point, especially with Xavier Scott now emerging as more of a pass catching back in this offense. Okay, so Jordan Mason, not to have a reception today. You have it at a coin flip, but really the odds right now out there in the market at plus 200. So very good value on that front. And you are also on Taysom Hill over 7.5, over Taysom Hill over 7.5 rushing yards. So you could tail both of those bets right now with quick slip links in the YouTube chat. All right, Derek, thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow him in the Action app. Derek Hardy. Derek, we'll see you tomorrow on Action Island.
Thanks so much.
We now welcome in Dr. Nick Giffen, the creator of the Luck Rankings. You can read up on this every week in the Action app, where he lists the luckiest and unluckiest NFL teams based on what we saw on the field. Now, Nick, looking at some of the rundown here and seeing some of the picks that we've got, a little stinky, but I love some of these angles that you've got here. And what's the first angle you're looking at? Is it Giants 49ers?
Yeah, so San Francisco versus New York Giants is a luck game. The New York Giants are the unlucky side here, so we'd be looking at them plus 2.5. Trying to wait till kickoff. Maybe the +3 will pop up because the plus 2.5s are plus 100 right now. So it means the market is kind of trending towards the +3 on the Giants. I would love that. So I'm going to wait as close till kickoff as I can. But this is a C-graded game, a 1.777 luck score. And a 56.8% luck-based cover probability. So, teams with this luck score traditionally cover around 57%. Overall, though, for C grades, the unlucky team is 41-29. That is 58.6% against the spread since 2018. And that improves to 34-22, which is over 60%, almost 61% against the spread when we remove the weeks 5 through 7 dead zone for luck sides, which seems to kind of recur year after year. Although this year weeks 5 and 7 were pretty good. But I think the key matchup in here, and this is going to be a little provocative, but Christian McCaffrey can't run. But the New York Giants can't stop the run. And the reason I say that about McCaffrey, he has a 3.6 yards per carry this year. That's horrible. But since he returned from injury in 2024, he hasn't had a run longer than 19 yards. And this year, his longest run is just 15 yards. So, it's been really a lot of struggle for McCaffrey since he's returned from injury. I don't know if it's the blocking or the play calling or him coming off injuries and getting older or a combination of all that. But this should be a better spot for him. But McCaffrey runs the 7th most zone concept runs of all running backs. And the New York Giants, they've been better against zone concept runs than man or gap concept runs. Versus man or gap concept runs, they're like dead last. But versus zone concept runs, they're kind of just mid-pack, which is, a big improvement from dead last. And then Christian McCaffrey has also been best running up the middle. He's had, around 4.4 yards per carry on his runs up the gut, versus, in the 3s on the outsides. But the Giants have been strongest versus runs up the gut. So, this could be a pretty tough matchup for McCaffrey. He's really going to need to get stuff going on the edges where the Giants are weak, but he has been weak himself. So kind of the key matchup there. But also there's a little bit of a sneaky edge here. Just using special teams DVOA, which is kind of an efficiency metric. The New York Giants have the 2nd best kick return team, and they faced San Francisco 49ers, who are 2nd worst in kick coverage. So interesting matchup there. Maybe Gunnar Olszewski has a couple nice long returns there for the Giants.
Well, some of the key takeaways that I heard from this. So we're going to be old takes exposed if Christian McCaffrey goes off, because you just said CMC.
Well, I took his over on 15.5 on his longest run. So he can still have a long run, but the Giants can still cover.
Okay. All right. So we'll meet in the middle on that one. But then also, I think this is like the 3rd week we've had the Giants featured in the luck rankings segment too, which is again, just the way that it plays out. But again, you had said that right now, the luck rankings, a lot of their records, like you said, or all the records are based on closing spread. So like you said, you want to wait till probably closer to kickoff to make sure you get that best line with the Giants. So that is the first pick, New York Giants plus 2.5. But you had said, let's see if we can wait to see if we get a 3 in here, and then we'll track that up. So, all right, that's the first pick. What's the next one? And this one, actually, I think I have a pretty good idea, because we talked about this a lot this week, probably the most that I've talked about this team all season. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I am going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm going to take over their team total of 20.5 points. This game is a weak luck over, so there is, some edge to taking just the total for the whole game over. But I'm eyeing the Atlanta side in particular because I think they're super undervalued. They have the highest luck team total of the week at +7.25, and the next highest is Las Vegas at +4.78. So that means that +7.25 means Atlanta's offense and New England's defense have combined to allow nearly or more than a touchdown less than our expected scores, which is based off of the team strengths and how they've played the games and stuff. And because the luck rankings work so well, this should regress back to higher. So Atlanta should have the opportunity to score more points in their near future, especially in this matchup against New England. And the Patriots, they have faced a laughably easy schedule, the easiest opposing offensive schedule in the league. Look at the teams they've played. They played Las Vegas, Miami, Carolina, New Orleans, Tennessee, and Cleveland in the last 2 weeks. I mean, that's ridiculously, stupidly easy. Only Pittsburgh and Buffalo, who they have faced, have been better offenses by efficiency than the Atlanta Falcons have. And the Atlanta, in their Michael Penix games, have an expected score of 22.2 points versus what's pretty much right around an average, opposing defensive schedule. And the Patriots are 28th in defensive DVOA, and they've been lucky, as we've talked about, because this luck total combines the Atlanta unluckiness with the Patriots defensive luckiness. And they've allowed just 18.25 points versus 21.63 expected. So I have Atlanta totaled more like 23.5. I might be even a little conservative there for their team total. So I love laddering this. And hey, if you want to go way up the ladder, just play Atlanta as the highest scoring team on Sunday. You can get that 70-1 at DraftKings, 55-1 at FanDuel, or even 80-1 at Bet365.
Oh my gosh, man. What a time. Atlanta over 20.5 team total against the Patriots. When you listed out all the different teams that New England has faced this year, like, wow, just LOL. Like, just of the opposing quarterbacks that they have faced. Not saying that Michael Penix is like top 10 or anything, but if you look at it's bottom of the barrel for quarterbacks on that schedule. So Atlanta over 20.5 team total. Nick, you love it so much. You're looking at maybe even sprinkling and laddering on them being a high scoring team as well. So that is the second pick from Nick for luck rankings. Do we have another luck rankings pick?
Sort of. We're gonna go to this Denver-Houston game, and this technically is a luck side. Houston does meet our threshold as the unlucky team, but it is just degraded. So I'd rather take a different angle here, and I'm gonna take the under 40.5. I think there is a 41 out there, and the money's been coming in on the over, so I think you can wait and see if it ticks up to 41 across the market. But get that key number of 41 for sure. I don't trust Houston's offense because I don't trust CJ Stroud under pressure. He's been the third worst quarterback by adjusted net yards per attempt versus pressure this year. He jumps up to a top 10 quarterback when he's not facing pressure, but Denver gets pressure at a top 5 rate, and I don't think they'll suddenly not get pressure simply because Pat Surtain is out of this game, right? He's out in coverage, and the Broncos front 7 or 8, whatever they're sending, will still be able to generate plenty of pressure. And then on the flip side of the ball, Denver, they have faced the easiest opposing defensive schedule in the NFL, right? So the Patriots face the easiest opposing offenses. Well, Denver has faced the easiest opposing defenses, and now they face the number 4 defense in the NFL by efficiency. So this is a massive step up in caliber for the Denver Broncos compared to what they've been facing, right? They face like the New York Giants, the New York Jets, all these just garbage teams defensively, and now they get to play the Houston Texans. So I really like the under here. Our schedule adjusted expected scores, which power the luck rankings, have this closer to like 38. I'm a little higher than that once you make some injury adjustments, but yeah, I definitely like under 41.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 38 because that's kind of where I thought this total was going to go, or at least be close to, just because of how strong both of these defenses are. I mean, Patrick Surtain is obviously amazing, but let's not forget the Broncos' defensive line gets a ton of pressure. So I love these bets. So let's recap before we get you out of here. So you are on the Giants plus 2.5, but you were going to either lock this in by kickoff or maybe even wait for the 3. You're going to be looking at Atlanta over 20.5 team total against the Patriots. You may be even looking at laddering that team total up to maybe 30 or even highest scoring team of the day. And you're taking the under for the Broncos Texans under 40.5. There could be a 41 out there, but you still like it at the 40.5. So Nick, that's all, man. Luck rankings for week 9. Make sure to follow Nick as well in the Action app, Nick_Giffen. You can get all of his bets and his analysis there. And also tune in to Bet What Happens Live. You can get that in the Action Network Discord. And of course,
now
you'll see him tomorrow.
Tackle props.
Yes, with the tackle prop model now from Sean Kerner as well. And then, of course, we'll see you on Action Island tomorrow as well. So Nick, thanks a lot. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.
All right, we now welcome in our director of research, Evan Abrams, one of my go-to guys when I want to talk about the sides, totals, and the latest betting trends and data in the NFL. You can check out his weekly betting primer on the Action Network app. It's also pinned on his X and Twitter profile right now. You can go check that out, Evan Abrams. So, Evan, I know you use Bet Labs a lot for the information, especially to be able to find some of the different things in the market. But right now, a lot of tickets for some certain teams. Let's talk about what's happening in the market for Week 9.
Yeah, bettors out there seem to think we got some free money on the board, which is always a scary proposition. But right
Yep.
now, the Chargers sitting at about -9.5, -10 in Tennessee have 88% of the tickets according to the Action Network. So this year, the record for tickets in a single game in 2025 is 86%. So right now, they would be setting the record. Now, the top three sides today in terms of public tickets is Chargers at 1 at 88%. Now the Lions, who are up to -9.5 against the Vikings, a number we hadn't seen up to this morning. So that line on the rise at 84%. And the Broncos, actually a 2-point dog right now, getting 80% of tickets. So three sides, all 80% plus, all at 1 o'clock as well. So coming up on kickoff there, and a ton of the tickets on one side of these games at the moment.
Yeah, the Chargers definitely, I think, make sense facing Tennessee and given where their line is at. But Denver, like 80% against Houston. Like I think Nick making a good point about Stroud and facing pressure, but I still think, they're going to be able to defensively still keep Denver in check, So I'm surprised how much the side is on Denver right now from a ticketing perspective. I want to talk to you about some of the totals this week, though, because I'm a touchdown bettor. I love to find touchdown angles and different scoring. Seeing a lot of high totals this week. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so we had a 50 plus on Thursday Night Football, and we have 4 more still on the schedule. So 5 totals, 50 plus. First time we've seen that in 5 years, 2021. So definitely haven't seen those types of totals, at least recently. Now, here's the interesting part. So this year, overs 65 and 56, so 54%, tiny edge. But the thing that's interesting, when the total has risen from the opening to closing line, the overs are just 13 and 25, 34%. So we have about 5 or 6 games currently on track for that this week. You just have to go to actionnetwork.com, look at our odds charts, and you can see which lines we have the opening and closing lines sitting there. But interesting enough, edge for overs, but so far when the public is betting up these overs, they just haven't been hitting, only 34%. So we have to see what happens going forward. But pretty intriguing with a lot of high totals this week. A lot of people thinking points.
Yeah, and it takes me back to a very nostalgic time, 2021, 2020. Like, I felt like touchdown betting. Not to say I still don't love touchdown betting, but just it's changed, in the last like 3 to 4 years,
I think
right?
some of the odds have shortened too as well.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to find some edges sometimes these days. Whereas in 2021, I felt like they were just overflowing in every different game, right? So, all right, so a lot of high totals this week, but keeping track of that some of those totals, when they start to track upward, we're starting to see under results as a result of that. So, okay. I want to talk to you about the Colts because for anybody who might remember, Evan and I, we used to do the recap show on the Action Network podcast. And one of the things, it was like a recurring theme, was us just trashing the Colts, it felt like, every week. But now this year, I think they weren't very, kind of like a sexy team to want to bet on. But right now, based on what I'm seeing in this information here, that they're looking like they could go over their team total today.
Win total, even crazier.
Win total.
Even crazier. But I think the comparison would be the Vikings from last year.
Right.
I think their win total last year was 6.5. They obviously end up with like 14 wins. So the Colts win total was 7.5. They now can eclipse it before week 10. They'd be the first team since the 2013 Chiefs to basically eclipse their win total this early in the season, which is intriguing enough. So I think following along with Indiana Jones and how they're doing, covering by over 10 points per game. First time we've seen that in about 6 years. And listen, laying 3.5 in Pittsburgh. The thing I found, which was interesting, Tomlin only been a home underdog to a team with a win total under 8 once since 2011. So been a long time since you've had this type of expectations in a team, but should be interesting nonetheless today.
And from what I'm reading from the notes here, that Lions team, I'm just going back.
Yeah.
That was with Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and I think I just saw Reggie Bush was on that team
Correct.
too.
Yeah.
What a throwback callback. I love that. All right. So Colts can go over their win total today and the overs. A lot of big totals today as well. Let's talk about Bet Labs now because Bet Labs in the Discord, we're seeing a lot of winning coming out of that Discord, especially on
Yeah.
NFL sides. What is the Bet Labs pick of the day for today?
Listen, man, they like I'm sorry, the Vikings. They like the Falcons. Falcons
Hmm.
plus 5.5 against the Patriots. Seems like a popular side, a contrarian side with everything that's been going on in New England, how well Drake May has been playing. But Atlanta did lose to Miami as touchdown favorites last week. Now plus 5.5 in New England. Since 2015, teams off a straight up loss as a touchdown favorite, 80 and 57 against the spread, 58%, 21 and 13 last 3 seasons. Basically, let's see if Atlanta can stay in this game. I know Nick likes them for a lot of points
Yeah.
today. So if they're going to score a lot of points, they may as well cover the 5.5 for everybody.
And that's kind of what I was getting at. If we like the luck rankings on that side from a team total perspective, then
Yeah.
they're more than likely they're going to probably cover that 5.5 if we're seeing 21 plus points. I mean, who knows? I mean, the Patriots offense has obviously been humming, but Atlanta's defense is still pretty good too. So, all right.
Yep.
So Falcons plus 5.5. That is the Bet Labs pick of the week from Evan. Evan, also, thank you very much for joining today. Make sure to check out his weekly betting primer. He'll also be live tonight. I brought up the recap show. He does the recap show now with Brandon Anderson. So that's going to be coming up live after Sunday Night Football on both the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action Network podcast feed. All right, Evan, thanks a lot, man. We'll see you next week.
See you later, man.
All right, we're going to take it up a notch now. It's time to hit the lotto. And this is where we get a little bit crazy. We try to find maybe a plus EV parlay, especially from a touchdown perspective. And of course, I've got Grant Neefer, who's going to be joining me, who seems like he hits like 3 or 4 legs a week whenever we do this parlay. But he is dropping parlays all the time in the Parlay Science Discord. Bangers, I believe he would refer to them as. And of course, after we finish up the lotto parlay from Grant, we've got Sean Kerner. He's got a same game parlay that he is looking at. But Grant, let's start with you. What kind of touchdown lotto are we looking at for week 9, man?
Yeah, we got a 3-legger, 113 to 1 odds over at Bet365. We can get it over there. Then over at DK, if you use that 25% boost, get around 109 to 1 odds. The first leg, someone I know you like, Nico Collins to score a touchdown. Now, I know the matchup is tough. I know the Broncos will get pressure on Stroud, but I don't really care. Collins is fantastic. Has 15, or rather 18 touchdowns in 33 games since he's been playing with Stroud. He's been phenomenal. He's the focal point in this offense, and without staying in the opposing defense, he's not going to get shadowed. Should be in for a lot of volume, and he's their go-to guy in the red zone. Plus 145, a bit too high. Next up, Chris Olave, plus 325. I know the Saints are just complete and utter garbage, and Shuck's in there, but how much worse could he be than Rattler? He targeted Olave a lot in the few drives that he ended up playing last time. The matchup is tough. They don't have a huge team total, but getting plus 325 for the focal point of this offense and a quarterback that's probably better than Rattler, but we'll see. Just seems a bit too high. And the last one, the guy that I have way too much money on, a team I have way too much money on today, JJ McCarthy, 40 plus pass attempts, plus 1,000. Now you're probably thinking, how do you have so much faith in McCarthy? I don't. I'm not saying he's going to be good. What I'm betting on is volume here. The Lions are a massive pass funnel. They have one of the highest pass rates against in the league this season because their run defense is so good. They're an 8.5-point dog, Minnesota is. So they're going to be throwing. And if you're wondering, why would Kevin O'Connell allow him to throw 40 plus times? Well, guys he's allowed to throw 40 plus times over the last few years. Dobbs, I'm pretty sure, did it. Wentz did it multiple times. Darnold did it multiple times. He's had so many guys throw huge amount of volume in any given game. So McCarthy getting 10 to 1 here, I have it much closer to 5 to 1 here. I have a massive edge on this according to my projections. So getting him at 10 to 1 is just silly. Parlay all 3 of them together, 113 to 1 odds. Let's get it.
I love it. And one of the things that I like too is that as you were giving them out, I was thinking of like, oh, this, and then you would qualify with, I know what you're thinking, and then you would be like, but here's why we like this bet, and the reason why we're getting the odds that we are because Chris Olave, based on the volume alone, probably shouldn't be over 3-1, but we got Tyler Shuck at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like JJ McCarthy probably shouldn't pass 40 times, but this is a matchup against the Lions where he's likely going to be trailing. So again, very looking good here at 113-1. We just dropped the YouTube link or the quick slip link in the YouTube chat. Playbook as well. Just tag Grant. We have the quick slip there that you could tag with Playbook. So we got that there. So again, that parlay 113-1. Nico Collins, Chris Olave, each to score a touchdown, and JJ McCarthy 40 plus passing attempts. Again, 113-1 at Bet365, where you could go to DraftKings, you could use some boosts or FanDuel and be able to get that closer to those odds. So Grant, great job by you. Sean, let's now talk about the Giants and 49ers, because you have a same game parlay here that I'm looking at that is over plus 5,000. So what are we looking at?
So it's got 6 total legs, and it begins with the Giants money line at plus 120. Nick already mentioned this is a luck side. I love this as well. I have this, projected closer to pick 'em. So they're plus 2.5. I just decided to go with money line here. And everything kind of flows with the correlated game script of, Giants leading. So I have Jackson Dart under 209.5 passing yards for him to score a touchdown, and Darius Slayton under 41.5 receiving yards. So all three of those are very correlated. If the Giants are playing with the lead, they're going to lean on Tyrone Tracy, Jackson Dart, and his legs. And I've been obsessed with his rushing upside ever since he took over as starter, and he has 4 games with a rushing score and 5 starts. So love that angle there. And then Slayton's under. If they're leading, he won't need to be as aggressive throwing downfield to Slayton. So the 3 of those are correlated on the Giant side. And then on the Niners side, I have Mac Jones over 245.5 passing yards. If they're trailing, we're going to see Mac Jones throw a lot more. And, he's been great filling in for Brock Purdy, but the last couple of weeks, he had a brutal schedule facing the Falcons and then the Texans, who's arguably the best pass defense in the league. So he should bounce back here against the Giants, especially if they end up in a trailing game script. And then I have Abdul Carter to get a sack. Again, I can't say enough about this guy. He only has a half a sack on the season, but he's tied for the league lead with 19 quick pressures. He looks like an absolute beast. I mean, he's basically Micah Parsons Jr., so I want to get in on his sack market sooner than later before he erupts. So this is a spot, against Mac Jones, not very mobile. He tends to get sacked around league average rate. So this is a good spot for Carter to get a sack as well. But all of these are extremely correlated with the Giants win, of course. And you can get it, right around 55-1.
Oh my Lord. And not only that, this feels like a flag plant same game parlay, because you've been early on Jackson Dart for his touchdown props, so you're making sure you're getting that in. And then same thing with Abdul Carter. Like, you've been talking about him recording a sack, like that, all the pressures that he's getting. So it's like, look, this is I've been in on this. I'm not swaying, I'm not moving off of this. And then of course you had to throw in the cardio king Darius Slayton under 41.5 receiving yards. So all right, so that parlay is plus 5,500 from Sean. That is the same game parlay for Giants 49ers. And then Grant, you still have your parlay that is coming out to 113-1 with Nico Collins, Chris Olave touchdown, and JJ McCarthy 40 plus passing attempts. So we just dropped quick slip links in the YouTube chat for both of those. So if you want to tail either of those, click that link. That'll take you directly to the sportsbook where you can tail those bets. So Grant, keep crushing it. We'll see you back on Action Island. Bet what happens live with Nick soon enough. Okay, Kerner, let's get Raybon back in here. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football, because I want to look at Seahawks Commanders. Right now, seeing a little bit of higher total, around 48.5. But we built the same game parlay for Sunday Night Football when we did the Touchdown Show podcast on Thursday. And looking at this parlay, it's looking pretty similar. Kerner, I think this is the same guy that you had for the parlay. So who are you taking here in this game?
Same guy. My opinion on this guy hasn't changed. It's Elijah Arroyo at plus 340. Similar to you were talking about some of the flag plants I've had. I was on Gadsden a few weeks ago. His market's, bottom out. He's closer to even money now to score, but I think the next rookie tight end I think is going to break out soon is Arroyo. Because he's a very talented pass catching tight end. They took, in the second round this year. And while AJ Barner's been playing the lead role and really no reason to lose that job, Arroyo's not too far behind. He's running roughly the same amount of routes as Barner. And I think, with Cooper Kupp potentially missing tonight's game, the Seahawks are also down two of their other backup wide receivers. So they elevated Cody and Ricky White the second. So I just think they're going to use even more heavy personnel. We're going to see even more Elijah Arroyo, and he could even be getting some of those targets that Cup would get. I mean, he's practically a wide receiver. So I think he has a ton of upside. Want to get in on him before he scores. So I think tonight's the perfect spot to back him here at plus 340.
Yeah, I think he's tied for the team lead for red zone targets as well, despite playing significantly less time than Barner as well. And I'm pretty sure you got this at like plus 450 when we did the parlay on Thursday. So the market is clearly trending towards him, and the odds are going down. So clearly he's getting some action in this game. So Elijah Arroyo plus 340 is right now what Kerner is doing. Raybon, what do you like for Sunday Night Football?
I'm going with Luke McCaffrey, anytime touchdown at plus 425. Now, McCaffrey has been trending up these last few weeks, but last week he was the clear, really the number 2 receiver for this team in route rate at 63%. Now, Terry McLaurin did go down in that game, but I expect McCaffrey to be, a top 3 receiver at the very least, and he could be the number 2 again. He's been a very explosive guy in terms of yardage and touchdowns. And so I think this is a good spot for him. Jaden Daniels back, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception on the year compared to Marcus Mariota, who threw 4 touchdowns and 4 picks. So I think you're going to see an uptick in, the passing touchdown rate for the Commanders in this spot. And this is a desperation spot for them, started 3-2, dropped 3 games. So I expect to get their best effort. I expect Daniels to throw some touchdowns here. So like McCaffrey with Terry McLaurin out at plus 425.
For sure, yeah, and he definitely has seen his role increase with Terry out, and has done pretty well against zone and 2 high safety. That's usually what the Seahawks like to play a lot as well. So I think he could definitely get a touchdown. But speaking of Jaden Daniels, I'm going to throw him in as well. I love Jaden Daniels for an anytime touchdown in this game. He's 3rd in the NFL in total scrambles, and like a lot of quarterbacks, but his scramble rate jumps up significantly when he sees pressure and when he's not being blitzed. And the Seahawks, they're top 5 in pressure rate per dropback, but bottom 3 in blitz rate. I think that sets up well for Daniels in that spot. So I think he's going to get his first touchdown of the season against the Seahawks. Right now, looking at the parlay odds for those 3 touchdown props for Sunday Night Football, I'm seeing 75 to 1 at Bet365, 80 to 1 at DraftKings, and 77 to 1 at FanDuel. So that's going to be the Sunday Night Football touchdown parlay for Action Playbook Live today. And we just dropped the link in the YouTube chat if you want to tail this parlay. So, Kerner, thanks a lot, sir. You've done a lot of heavy lifting this week. We'll see you next week on the Fantasy Flex podcast with Raybon. And I brought it up, but the 3 of us, we do a podcast now every Thursday. It's the Touchdown Show podcast on the Action Network podcast feed, and we give touchdown bets for every game. But Raybon, it's your turn this week, bud. It's time for the Touchdown Show. And as always, with me being the host of this show, there was no way I wasn't going to still do a touchdown portion segment at the end of the show. We've got Chris Raybon joining me this week. Last time he hit 2 or 3. He's always hitting touchdown props every week. So if you've never watched the show before, it's always the same format. We start off with our mild, medium, and spicy. So basically the one with the lowest odds, and we work our way up all the way to the end, and then we'll build a touchdown parlay and get out of here. So Raybon, why don't you start us off? What is your mild touchdown bet? Looks like you're looking at a Jaguar.
Yeah, let's go with Parker Washington at plus 240. Parker Washington has been kind of under the radar this year, just getting targeted on a very high percentage of his routes. And now you have no Travis Hunter. So Parker Washington is going to be a top 3 receiver. You also have Tim Patrick out for the Jaguars, and he was a bigger kind of red zone target. So that just really solidifies, I think, the top 3 of Diami Brown, Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr. in that lineup. And, this is a Raider defense that, with Washington being a guy who's kind of going to be a bit of an underneath receiver, that's not a bad thing against the Raiders because they like to protect, the deep and the explosive play. And so you generally have to move it up and down the field. So I think Washington in this spot is a really good bet at plus 240. He's been targeted on 21% of his routes. That's the same as Brian Thomas Jr., and it leads all members of the Jaguars who will be active today.
Yeah, and he's been returning kicks too, so there's the angle there that you could get from a special teams standpoint. But yeah, his role should definitely increase now with Travis Hunter out. Grant already brought him up. That's who I liked for my touchdown prop this week. Chris Olave, to me, just a great price. I wasn't really planning on when I took Addison and Chris Olave. I didn't come into the show thinking can't wait to back 2 rookie quarterbacks this week, but here we are. Olave still leads the team end zone targets with 8. Man, zone, single high, too high. It doesn't really matter. He leads the team in targets per route run against all of them. So I like him to score a touchdown, especially anything over 3-1. So Chris Olave is my mild touchdown bet. Now we're moving up to medium. We both are looking at a 2 touchdown prop for this. What are you looking at?
Gotta go with my guy, Kamani Vidal here. This
Nice.
Titans run defense. I think you just have to target them in all different ways possible, every different way possible. I mean, this is a defense that's given up 14 touchdowns to running backs in 8 games. Now, do the math there. Even with Jonathan Taylor's 2-3 touchdown games, you take those out and you still have 8 touchdowns allowed in 6 games. That's over 1 per game, which means there is a good chance for Vidal to get 2, dominated the rushing work for the Chargers while the game was in question, in that game against the Vikings. So, and 200-yard games in his last 3. So, you could look at him on the yardage market as well, but I think he's a really good bet to get 2 plus touchdowns just because he's been dominating the work, and, the Titans have been giving up explosives, and then Vidal, he's going to get those short yardage carries as well. No Hassan Haskins there. So I think Patterson, Johnson, those guys are only going to mix in, if the game is out of hand, or, maybe some kind of, early second quarter, deep in their own territory kind of situation. But Vidal is going to get all the high leverage looks. Good receiver too, can get in the end zone through the air. So like him for 2 plus.
Yeah, I don't think Herbert's going to really be in a position to vulture either. When they get inside the 10-yard line, he has not really been rushing the ball at all. He's had higher rushing totals like throughout the game, but it's all between the 20s. He's not really doing that much once they get to the red zone. Under that offense, they like to stick to the running backs. So Kamani Vidal, and then you're also looking at him for over 15.5 longest rush as well. So maybe one of those is an explosive, and then he runs for a touchdown in that. All right, the running back that I'm targeting for this, my medium bet is going to be Josh Jacobs. Right now, his 2 touchdown prop is around plus 450. 9 touchdowns this year. He's got 2 plus touchdown games in 3 of the last 4. I think this Panthers run defense, they haven't given up a lot of explosive, but I just think they're very overrated. Multiple games this season where they've allowed multiple rushing touchdowns. Just came off a game versus the Bills where both James Cook and Josh Allen ran for 2 touchdowns each. And we were seeing some of his rushing attempts kind of trickle down last week with dealing with the calf injury, but he's off the injury report now. So I think they're going to lean on him heavy, especially in a game where there could be some weather as well, where passing might be a little more tricky, right? So Josh Jacobs for 2 touchdowns is my medium bet. This one we talked about extensively on the Touchdown Show podcast. He might be my favorite bet that we gave out on the show. What is this one, Rayvon?
Yeah, rolling with John Fitzpatrick, 13-1 anytime touchdown. Now, this is maybe a little, anti-correlated with your Jacobs 2 touchdown bet.
I love it.
I don't care because, Fitzpatrick's been seeing an uptick in routes run, and he's likely to be on the field in the red zone, up in close when the Packers are in heavy formations. Now, you're up against the Carolina Panther team as a 14 point favorite here. So not only should you be leading and have a chance to be driving the field and get into the red zone inside the 10 multiple times, but there's also a chance that there's a blowout, and in that case, that's when you would see Fitzpatrick potentially take some routes away from a guy like Tucker Kraft or even Luke Musgrave, who he overtook in terms of routes last week. So I think there's a few different outs for Fitzpatrick. I think he's too cheap because the Panthers, all that being said about Fitzpatrick's role, but the Panthers have been terrible against tight ends. They're number 32 dead last in DVOA against the tight end position. So, you could see another Tucker Kraft monster game, but don't sleep on a guy like Fitzpatrick because they're going to have to cover Kraft. And, you still have those wide receivers like Dobbs, Golden, Watson. So if Fitzpatrick's on the field, he's going to be in single coverage. He's super tall. And I think he's a great bet to get in the end zone here.
Yeah, he could high point a ball against this Panthers secondary very easily. And I think as well, a lot of people are going to be on Tucker Kraft again, given all the data we just laid out of how they've been defending tight ends. But him coming off a 2 touchdown game, he's probably like close to like plus 110, to score, even though there's probably going to be some weather. So, I mean, the fact that we're getting John Fitzpatrick, who you just said is kind of overtaken Musgrave in this role, I love this bet at 13-1, even with the Jacobs 2 touchdown bet at plus 450. All right. Spicy bet. Honestly, I still love Addison, so I'm just going to ladder his touchdown bets. I took his anytime touchdown at plus 250. I'm taking 2 touchdowns at 25-1, and I thought Grant brought it up just about the Vikings. I think they're going to be throwing a lot in this game, potential trailing game script. He has 4 2 touchdown games over a 36 game regular season sample. Now, obviously, it's not different quarterbacks, different matchups, but if you just use that, like it's 11% of the time. So, the fact that we're getting 25-1, where we probably should be closer to like 10-1. And then the Lions, they've also given up the second most touchdowns to wide receivers this year. Their secondary is starting to get a little bit healthier, but it's still a little banged up as well. So I'm going to take Addison to get 2 touchdowns. But I want to do a parlay now, Raybon. So I think Addison, I think we should put him as maybe the first leg, but I love Parker Washington for a touchdown this week. I think that should be the second leg. And even though I do like Josh Jacobs, because you like John Fitzpatrick as well, I think they kind of cancel each other out. But why don't we do the Kamani Vidal 2 touchdown prop as well as the third leg? Because right now, when I just put those 3 together, I'm seeing 51-1 at Bet365 or 47-1 at DraftKings. So very good look here. And Raybon, what do you think of these 3 together? And just, I guess, what are your thoughts on Addison in this matchup against the Lions?
I love it. I'm on the Vikings in this spot. I think it's kind of the bottom of the market for them. They have their preferred quarterback. I know he's only had a 2 game sample, but I'm not really downgrading them because it's McCarthy instead of Wentz. I mean, again, 2 game sample. We know what Carson Wentz is. This is their preferred quarterback. Should have both of his tackles. And then there are you got Addison and you got Jefferson and you got Hockenson, who really hasn't played well I'm talking about Hockenson this year yet. So, I think there's a lot of kind of unrealized upside with this Vikings offense in general. And Addison is the prime beneficiary because Justin Jefferson's always going to get the coverage number 1. And then you still got to worry about Hockenson underneath. And so Addison tends to just be able to go off. And this is a game where Detroit plays a lot of man coverage. Could be a high scoring game indoors. So yeah, really love Addison here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to double check because I was like, okay, is Christian Darrisaw playing? I just wanted to make sure that he was played as so he is active for this game. So that does help from a Vikings offense standpoint. So again, we just dropped the quick slip link in the YouTube chat. If you want to tail this parlay, you can get it added to your bet slip. All right, Raybon, well, we're locked and loaded now, man. Action Playbook Live in the books for week 9. Action Playbook Live is going to be back here every Sunday on the Action Network YouTube and on X and Twitter from now until the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. Eastern each Sunday. And if you missed the show, you want to get our picks, download the Action app. All of our bets are tracked there. You can get them as soon as we bet them with pick notifications. So I want to thank you again for joining us for Action Playbook Live for NFL Week 9. Bon chance.